Hello again everyone, this is Vontos, and welcome back to a normal video release schedule. This is episode 15 of my Age of Wonders 3 co-op series with Bob of Black Arrow Gaming, whose channel I've linked to in the description. This episode is not a particularly long one for me, as all the long battles belonged to Bob, but with so many enemy units in my land right now, I still have a lot to do and talk about. I've had to admit that there is no way I can possibly defend my land against all the enemy units rolling in. So Bob and I have kind of come up with a strategy where we are going to attack Orange and try to take them out of the game as quickly as possible, and then push together to go knock Brown and then Teal out. It's kind of a scary plan because it means letting my land get overrun to some degree. There's only a couple cities that I really need to fight to defend. I'm still going to keep a few armies back in my land, in particular Exalteds, to fly out and pick off enemy units as they come in. Or pick off the smaller, weaker ones anyway. But I am going to be losing cities in this turn, or in this episode, probably in a couple future episodes to come at least. Just hope the enemies don't get smart enough to all just sweep in and go straight for my biggest cities. So there won't be anything I can do to stop that. You can see a bunch of Manticore Riders, Lords of the Deep, so many tier 4 units. Necromancer Hero doesn't do a whole lot for me. Gonna try to get something else. Gonna send my builder south. If I get the opportunity and the gold, I want to put a watchtower up somewhere just to keep an eye on what enemy units are coming. It's kind of pointless right now because I have a pretty good idea what enemy units are coming. It'd just be a waste of the gold. They'd go take the watchtower and then destroy it. But if the game ever gets stabilized, it will be nice to have some line of sight out over that little sea to the south of all my land. AI teammates don't ever work together during the battles, which is a good thing for me. If all those brown and all those teal units came at my city at the same time, I would be in big trouble. But if they come in one player at a time, I think I might be able to hold them off there. That city's a pretty strong point for me. Other cities are not quite so strong. I will have to do some scrambling to defend my other cities, but my city to the furthest west is pretty well defended and will continue to be. My throne city is one of the cities I absolutely need to defend, not just because I'm at risk of losing the game if I lose that city, but because it is my primary unit construction city, making Exalteds at this point, and perhaps in the future start making Shock Troopers again as well. The other units my cities are building are mostly priests to get a little bit of ranged attack. Priests won't do much against the Shrines of Smiting that I'm having to deal with, but the rest of these units will be affected by the priests. You may have noticed at the beginning of my turn I queued up construction for a Shrine of Smiting of my own in Engranost. So that city will probably become important to hold on to, so I can get some Shrines of Smiting into my army. Bob and I are arranging our units to attack the city. He might not need me. I actually end up doing so little in this battle that I just skip it. All I really do is use my sorcerer to use his Thunderstorm ability, which does take out a few enemy units, but overall I have very, very little impact. There you can see the result of the battle. We did not lose any units between us. Recaptured that city. There's one more orange city that we know of underground. There's probably more than that, but there's one more in between us and Orange's throne. So we're going to move south to go get that city next and then push on to their throne. Hopefully we'll catch Orange's leader exposed somewhere and knock them out of the game quickly. I decided to give my sorcerer some different elemental resistances, excuse me. Shock to help deal with Manticore Riders, Blight to help deal with the Goblins, and Fire to help deal with the Dreadnought stuff. There's not a whole lot else I could give him. I could have given him another spell, but I prefer to use all his casting points on Chaos Rift if possible. I could also have saved up to give him more casting points, but he's got plenty right now as it is. My ships are going to hit this Shrine to the Fickle Mermaid to get their movement back. Get them back to get repaired. Still saving that guy's upgrade points for Divine Justicars. Noticed here, my leader has a torso item that its main bit, well, it does give him 100% fire protection, which is really nice. Maybe should have kept it just for that, but it also gives Resurgence. Since my leader has Resurgence anyway, I decided to give that item to the one hero that does not currently have Resurgence. Dragons have a quest. I have an army pretty close. I'm going to go ahead and do that. Get a couple wyverns out of it. Just waiting for Bob to get his units out of the way before I can move mine. Don't really need to see this, could have skipped. I think from this point we're about 3 turns from the next orange city. And then from there we're only 2 or 3 turns from Orange's throne. So hopefully this won't take long. I do need to get not just my main army, but all Bob's armies up to help defend our other borders as quickly as possible. There you can see it'd be 3 turns to get to that cave entrance. Their throne, if not the closest city to the cave entrance, is just about the closest to the cave entrance. So there's really no reason just to go, or not to just go straight for their throne. Bob was giving me an item there. I actually have no idea where the item went. Because by the time we stopped playing, I still did not have that item. I don't know if it takes a few turns for me to get it, or if it showed up in a spot that I didn't notice. But I don't think any of my heroes have it in their inventory. I didn't see it on the ground anywhere. I almost wonder if it got put on the ground right below my leader, and I didn't notice before I moved. I decided not to cast another Domain of Corruption. I'm going to put Mark of the Heretic on some of these. Some of the bigger, scarier armies coming at me. Pretty sure I actually put Mark of the Heretic on an army that I run away from. So that was kind of a complete waste of casting points. Gonna move my Exalteds up to get closer to this Shrine of Smiting army, just so I can better react to it no matter which direction it goes. Yeah, I don't see any items on the ground under my leader. I don't know where they went, or where it went. Maybe to my nearest city, which would be an underground city? Now I'm curious. Gonna have to load up the game as soon as I'm finished with this. Try to find it. Excuse me. Don't have anything I need to move quickly, so I am going to wait to see where all the enemies move before I react. There's the Lich Queen. Spawned in a really nice spot. It'll be pretty easy for Bob and I to take care of her. And there I am marking that army as heretics. Mark of the Heretic lasts for 5 turns, so even though I do run away, I might still have a chance to take advantage of that. need to get back to that. The army with the Shrines of Smiting moved up to where my Exalteds could attack them, but they were reinforced by other units, so now they're too strong for me to attack. Here's an army coming over the water that I can attack. I think this army came from above ground, just flew around to the north. It's possible it came from the cave entrance that's up there, though. The cave entrance is in the Fog of War, so I don't know where they came from. Cut that kind of awkwardly. Bob won that battle, if you're interested. And my first actual action of the night. 20 minutes in. Don't really know the best way to approach this type of battle. When it's 2-on-2, more or less even. Thought maybe I could have gone after the Feathered Serpent first. It would have used its healing ability if I didn't kill it. Might have gotten that healing showers. So I decided to go after the Exalted first and take care of the Feathered Serpent second. So I could take it out in one, to worry about it healing itself. Bob City of Moldan under attack by some of the Lich Queen's minions. Since he is a necromancer, a lot of those necromancer units don't do a lot of damage to his units. So he's not under a huge threat, but it is something he'll have to take care of. That was my cavalry city. I'm finally starting to make Enchanted Armory, then a Rider's Hall, and then my borders will have expanded enough to make Stables of Vigor. Then I will finally be able to start making cavalry. Might be too late in the game for it to matter, but we will see. Probably should have started making them in another city a long time before this. You see that brown army actually looks like it might be going to the west. I might have been able to get away with leaving my units in Anthoria and not getting attacked there. The problem is he could have turned back and attacked Anthoria. He does have other armies out to the west of Anthoria, right there. Those are some big, tough stacks, too. I think one of them has 5 or 6 Manticore Riders in it. If all those armies had attacked Anthoria, there's no way I could have defended. Okay, 2 Manticore Riders and a Lord of the Deep. But there's a lot of Tier 3 and Tier 4 units there. So I decided, even though it looked like he might not try to attack Anthoria, I decided to be safe and still abandon the city. Before that battle, we kind of had a look at that teal army with the Shrines of Smiting in it. There's the stack with the 5 Manticore Riders. Yeah, if you add in that group with the ones to the northwest and the ones to the south of Anthoria, I would have no chance if I tried to defend. So I decided to be safe. It is a little tricky when I excuse me. It is a little tricky when I do finally move my units out here. I don't want to leave them in a vulnerable position where they can get attacked. So I do try to keep them in a triangle. But I also need to get them out as close to Engernost as possible so I can run them into Engernost at the beginning of next turn. You can see I was thinking about attacking. Said probable defeat. I don't know how accurate that is, but I did not want to try my luck. Risk losing my entire army over what's really just a small portion of Brown's army. Again, waiting for Bob to move down here. Can't quite get them all into a nice, neat formation, but I have enough movement points on enough of them. I can move them around and get all but one of them into a triangle. Takes me a little while to figure out how, but I do get there. And there I got all except for my worthless spearmen into a triangle. Just get the spearmen out of the way, otherwise they could attack the spearmen and pull another group of my soldiers into the fight. Do not want that to happen. Looking to see if those armies could get up to my second city, Nipuk, in one turn. They cannot. So I decided to just leave them alone. I was hoping they'd go attack... I forgot the name of that city, the one that we're looking at right now. I was hoping those Teal armies would go attack that city, which I would be able to defend pretty easily, rather than having to fight them out in the open field. So I sit my Exalteds right here. Probably should have left them in a slightly more northern position, but they're fine where they are. Underground, gonna still scout with my ferry, gonna keep moving my other army towards the dragons to do their quest. And Bob's finally out of my way. Somewhat. Even though those armies are in a decent formation, I do still want to move them as quickly as possible next turn. That would still be a tough battle out in the open field. Tough enough that I don't think the AI would attempt it, but on the other hand, tough enough that I don't want to risk them attempting it either. I do want to get them into Engranost, kind of make a stand there. And I am able to get them back to Engranost before Brown moves and before that Lich Queen moves. And another co-op battle where I still do very little, but I do enough in this one to justify leaving it in the video. Pretty much just going to distract the enemy while Bob levels his Storm Sisters up here. Flying my Exalteds out. Not a whole lot of a purpose to doing that. If there was a bigger enemy army, flying the Exalteds out like that would have distracted part of the army and split it up, but since there are only 4 enemy units, they all just go straight after the Exalteds. Pull them back and split them up a little bit, just to try to split the enemy up. Doesn't matter, they just fly straight over the wall. If you want to hear what Bob is thinking about during this battle, you can watch his channel. It's not a real complicated battle. He's just trying to get experience for his Storm Sisters more than anything. Both my Exalteds and my hero level up this battle, so I got everything I wanted out of it. We're also going to get a big pile of nice items from this Lich Queen. Don't know exactly what's left after Bob took what he needed. Haven't had a chance to move on to that tile and pick them up yet. There you can see another one of my cities is under attack by Brown, that is Illinois. I do have units that can go defend that city. I've got some Exalteds nearby, but the Exalteds are needed to do something else. Bob got the Multiculture Empire quest. Gave him a bunch of support units. I'm probably gonna have to let Brown just take Illinois and then go back and get it back from him in the next turn. Hopefully he won't have reinforced his armies by then. Had a hard time deciding what I wanted. Kind of at the point in the research where everything looks good but nothing looks really great. Did select more casting points there right before Bob's battle. There are a couple little brown armies, but they are really little armies. This one across the waters. I mean, none of those units really scare me. There's just not enough of them to make a difference. There you can see Teal's army went straight for Nipuk there. With only one priest sitting in that city, I'm going to have to defend it. Keep moving forward underground. Orange attacked Bob twice at the beginning of this turn, lost both battles. I think Bob lost like 2 or 3 units. None of them were really great ones. So that's gone really well for us. Hopefully that means Orange doesn't have a huge force defending their home cities. That here is a rogue. That's one that I would like. I was hoping for either a rogue or a warlord with this hero. I don't really have the money to afford it, though. It's just really a shame. I think I might end up by... No. Man, I don't even remember what I do with him. Because the game, or our episode does end at the end of this turn, so I don't get another chance at that hero. If I have the gold, I will probably lean toward buying him next turn. It's just 300 gold's a pretty big amount. I could get an Exalted and 2 Priests for that amount, or 2 Exalteds for that amount. Something I'm going to have to think about before the next time we play. Trying to figure out the way to get the maximum number of units around this Teal army. I decided that I'm going to have to attack the one to the south, the group to the south, because I can get my priest that's in the city onto the water embarked, and by hitting these haste berries I can get an extra stack around that. I will end up attacking Teal's army with the one stack of units that I have that's not currently next to them. That's a couple tiles to the southwest there. I think that will let me get 23 units into the battle against only 8 or 9 enemy units. So that battle should go pretty easily for me. The difficult thing is moving quickly. I'm going to have to do that battle and then quickly get my units out to help defend my land. I need to get Exalteds down to go recapture Illinois. I have to get the bulk of that army back to defend Nipuk. But I also need to keep a few units back to defend my throne just in case some random Exalted comes flying in again. Probably could have done this auto combat. But I do like to play it safe when there's a tier 3 enemy unit involved. It was a pretty easy battle. Just not convinced the auto combat would have made it an easy battle. My fairies found the border of a big teal city there. Hopefully it's their throne. It's another Dread Reaper that Bob has to deal with, and a big stack of Bone Dragons that Bob has to deal with. I got lucky with that Lich Queen's army. Don't seem to be any of those stacks spawning in my land. There was one kind of off to the west that I think attacked Brown's army. I wasn't paying close enough attention to that. But none of them really threatened my cities like they are to Bob. There's a teal unit threatening my cavalry city. I have a priest in my other underground city that can run down and recapture that city if he does take it. But sitting right next to it, he's giving the city some pretty steep morale penalties right now. Someone disjuncted my sanctified sites, which is hurting the morale of all my cities, which is why my gold income dropped so much. Losing Anthoria, getting the minus 100 morale penalty for that hurt as well. There you can see us running my builder back because I decided not to spend the gold on a watchtower. I know that the enemy's coming from that direction, and I know that they have a lot of units. Those two brown armies up there, those are something Bob and I are going to have to take care of at the beginning of the next episode. Otherwise, they might run straight past the city and go threaten Muldan. And I don't know if Bob has enough units there to defend by himself. Muldan is too important a city to risk losing. But I think with the 3 armies I have right there, plus Bob's 2 armies, plus some of the armies back in his homeland, we can mount a pretty good defense against anything that Brown sends our way for a while. Hopefully Brown does attack that direction and we can just keep cutting him off in the borders of Angrenost, Because if Brown sends his army north after my land at the same time Teal is sending his army north after my land, there's no way I'm going to be able to hold him off. The game will not end well for me.